Welcome to the Quill Kettle podcast, where intuition meets industry. Join me as I sit down with authors, editors, designers, and other publishing professionals for tarot-guided interviews that blend business, psychology, and magic to dive deep into what it really takes to build a sustainable and inspiring creative career. Each interview is guided by a 5-card tarot spread that I've created specifically for this show. The cards are interpreted through an archetypal lens rather than used for divination. The intention held while pulling the cards for each interview is you, the listener. I hope each episode brings you closer to finding your own aligned path to a creative career that fits your life. Today I got to chat with fellow Canadian author and influencer Alexandria Goncalves. She is a social media specialist and romance author with a love for storytelling, cozy aesthetics, and authentic connection. With over 4 years of experience in marketing and content creation, she brings her creative flair and relatable voice to sharing books, inspiration, and life. When she's not reading away, she dabbles in writing. She's constantly had stories floating around in her head, but it wasn't until she was 15 that she started her first manuscript. Alexandria writes whatever story comes to her, whether it's a small-town romance between a curvy teacher and her new principal, or an angsty romance between step-siblings. She's never really felt a ground to one specific vibe of story, loving taking the journey into different types of light and dark romances, but they're spicy every time. She hopes her books bring a smile to your face, her social media makes you giggle, and your bank account weep with the amount of books you're going to buy. The conversation today is centered around the Strength card, but not in the way that you might think. Strength does not always mean force, and especially in publishing. It is also about softness, taming your own inner thoughts and instincts, and leading through firm boundaries and self-acceptance. Interestingly enough, the rest of this spread is all reversals, which, if you've been here before, you know that I read reversals more as like blocks or obstacles to fulfilling the meaning of each card. In the unconscious wing, we have the Page of Cups reversed, indicating that something is stopping us from fully leaning into our creative or our emotional side. What bridges this card to Strength is the Two of Swords reversed, and at first glance it might seem like we just need to make a choice. But what this bridge card is asking us to do is to sit with the tension caused by this unconscious emotion. You are strong enough to be with it until clarity reveals itself. In the conscious wing of this spread sits the Well reversed, which is a card that only exists in the Ethereal Visions Illuminated Tarot deck by Matt Hughes, which is my favorite deck and the one that calls to me the most. But this card indicates kind of a need for control, to control the vision, to contain the inspiration, and to channel the art, which is possible in a sense, but control isn't really the right word. I'm sort of struggling with it. I think if you try to force a dry well to produce water, it doesn't really matter how organized your publishing schedule is. It's just not going to happen. The bridge card here is an obvious one, but we're going to talk about it anyways. It's the Three of Cups reversed. Your way back to your deep well of creativity and the strength to put yourself and your books out there is your community. If you've been trying to go it alone, it is time to find your people. The ones who celebrate with you, who give you space to rest and help you fill your well. The core of my conversation revolves around these themes, but I would love to hear any of your interpretations of these cards as you listen to the conversation. Let me know in the comments if something stood out to you. All right, let's get into it. Okay, so first of all, thank you for hanging out with me. I appreciate you.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Of course. I'm going to start the good old-fashioned way of introduce yourself. You are, from what I know, you have been a huge advocate and champion for reading, and particularly in the romance sphere. And so how'd you get into it? What drew you to it? What made you want to kind of like jump online and talk about books? Just anything that comes to mind.
Yeah. Well, so I started reading romance. I hated reading growing up. Like, I was not a reader. Anytime in school I had to read, I was like, God, I hate this. Like, why do I have to do this? And then it was actually during my parents' divorce. We were in between, like, living at my grandparents' house before my mom, like, right in between of her selling our family home to moving into our new place. And I was living at my grandma's. And I think, like, I was like grade 8. So I was about, I think, 13 at the time, and it was a lot of emotions. That was when I was getting diagnosed with depression. So I was going through a lot at that time. And so my mom was going
Hmm.
out with her friends, and I was like, no, like, I don't want you to leave me. And I was like,
Oh.
I was just being so dramatic because I just didn't want to be by myself with my younger brother. I wouldn't have been technically by myself with my grandparents. So then we went to the grocery store quickly, and I remember going to the table, and usually my mom's like, she was like, "Hey, go grab one thing that you want." Normally, I'd migrate towards toys or a magazine or something. And I remember picking up this book, and I know what book it is, but I do not like the author anymore. She's had some
Oh,
questionable
I know what it
actions.
is. Yes, we're
Yeah,
there.
some
We're both
questionable
in the same
actions.
boat. Yep.
Yeah, so I don't like to mention her, but I picked up her book and I opened it right to a steamy page, and I was like, you know what? Maybe I do like reading. So I literally took that book with me, went to the checkout, and like my mom like thought nothing of it. Like I'm also like my mom moved to Canada when she was 16 years old, so she like got her like English very late. Like so she didn't really think to like question what I was reading. She was just like, "Oh, you want to read? Or you want a book? Okay, no problem." So we got that book, and like from there I just like started reading, and it was the only thing that I could read. Like I have an English degree, so I have read a multitude of other genres, but there's just something about romance, and there's just something about the love and hope it brings. And I always found that romance came to me in the time when I really needed it. Now I read it
Hmm.
just for the pure enjoyment and love of it, but as like a teenager and going through teenage emotions and relationships, like I relied on it a lot to find hope because I was not finding that hope in my relationships at the time. So it became this huge thing for me that I just loved. And it also, I would say it gave me a very big sense of confidence because I remember carrying around my romance books and like teachers, I went to a Catholic high school. So the books that I'd be carrying, they'd
Okay.
be like, "Oh, like should you have that at school? Like should you be reading that?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm reading and that's what's important and I can learn a lot from this genre where you might not think that, but it teaches a lot." So like it gave me that confidence because I was like, "No, no." I was like, "I'm reading and I'm loving what I'm reading. It is not all just sex." Like no. So I remember like
Yeah.
I was carrying around like Beautiful Bastard by Christina Lauren, which was one of my favorite books. And it was one of the ones that got me into romance. And I remember like my teacher being like, "Should you be reading that?" And I was like, "Yes, I absolutely should." And I was like, I think 15 or 16 at the time. And I was like, I don't care what you say, lady." So it really like it helped with all these different things. So it really just like got me into it. And it wasn't until like I had slowly started building a collection throughout high school, but it wasn't until I started university that I kind of found my love again. And my grade 12 year, I went through a lot of things that happened in my life that really pulled me away from reading. I didn't have much interest in it. But then when I went to university, it was kind of that one thing to occupy me because I went to a new city. I lived with my roommates, but they were off working because they were older than me. So I was like, I kind of went back into my reading and I was like, okay, so I feel like this is where I'm at again. So I started reading my romance, and it was also like a really happy balance of reading romance while also doing my degree that had nothing to do with romance. It was like solely
Right.
focused on like classic literature, 19th century or sci-fi. Like it was very much focused on that. So I was like, okay, I need that little break in between. And then it was actually an account called The Book Order. He is a bookstagrammer, and he was like the first time I really learned what that was. And it was his entire page was reviewing and posting books, and I was like, oh, like I like this. I like this a lot, and I like to I want somebody to talk about and see if there's other people out there who also love romance as much as I do. And basically
Mm.
from there, like it was I think my second year of university was where I started this account, and I was like, okay, like let's see what happens from here. And it's been, I think this year will be 8 years, which is crazy, but
Yeah.
maybe 9. I don't know. It's gonna be a long time since I started my account, and that was basically what got me into it. And I'm so grateful for it because I've met so many cool people, and like being able to have this like little community of people who also love what you do, especially if you don't have those people that have like I'm a very excited person. Like I get very excited over very small things. So meeting people that get very excited over these characters or this plot too is just something special. And I don't have that. Like I have family members and stuff that read romance, but they don't have that crazy excitement that I have. And I know that people, my
Hmm.
friends online, they do have that. So it's really nice to have that community. And
Yeah.
that was a whole ramble, but yeah.
Yeah, no, and you've kind of been through a few iterations of your online persona. I know you were when you first started, that was when I kind of became familiar with you. You were very so I found you um online during a big, how do I say it? Like you were fighting the good fight for authors, and for small authors, and for bigger authors kind of bulldozing smaller authors, and all, and this indie kind of, and this was sort of at the, not at the height of, but this was still in a time where indie published books were still a little bit
They
stigmatized,
weren't.
and where,
Yes. Yes, like, it was that
yeah.
period where, like, romance books weren't being picked up by traditional publishers, and I know exactly what you're talking about, and I've always, like, I love the indie community is my favorite, like, I still predominantly migrate towards indie romance, especially if it's
Mhm.
indie that ghost trad, then I'm like, "Okay, cool." But yes, I know exactly what period you're talking about.
Yeah, and so you were kind of a little like, you had that, like,
I could be
what did I say?
feisty.
Youth. Yeah, I mean, you're still very youthful, but like had that youthful energy, right? Where you're like, I have these opinions and this drive, and I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna fight. And then I've seen as like, because I've kind of been along the ride, I guess, and as one of your followers, um, that this softening, that you've had this kind of like softening of, and this expansion of your world through, and always you've kept the same thread, the same like positive energy, representation, joy, love, romance, all of these kinds of things. But I like, for lack of a better word, there's just been this like softening around it, and your name has changed a few times. So like, what sort of led you through that period, and what were those moments, kind of what did they look like, sort of, when you decided to like rebrand, I guess, for the business language.
I know exactly what you mean, but it's hard, like, it's hard because when you people change their things, it's usually like a massive change. For me, it's my account grows with me. When I started my account, I was in university second year. I was 19 years old. My first account, like I remember my username was Beautiful Bitch Book Reviews. And that was inspired by my love of Christina Lauren's
Okay.
Beautiful series. Their one book is
Right.
called Beautiful Bitch. And I just love that series so much that I was like, that would be a cool name for a book channel. And I was always like, ooh, but the bitch, like I might get flagged, but never did. So like that was just kind of like my favorite series growing up that really like got me into romance. That I was like, okay, that's my username. And then it was when I moved out of Toronto, I had graduated. I had my own like actual place with my, well, at the time we were just boyfriend and girlfriend, but now we're in, or no, we were engaged at that time, but now he's my husband. But I like we had our own place, and I was like, okay, I was like, I can now do a little bit more lifestyle and a little. So I think that was when I switched to Everyday Alexandria,
Hmm.
and I loved that name, but I feel like, and I love sharing everyday stuff, but I feel like I wasn't, no matter what, I wasn't back to bookish stuff. And while I still love sharing stuff about my house and I love sharing things about body positivity and things like that, like I always go right back to romance. Like that's the heart of my account. That's the heart of really who I am. Like my romance books are a huge part of me. So that was
Hmm.
why I think, was it this year or early last year where I changed it to Happily Ever Alexandria, because I found that that was a really good medium where I could still share my life with that username, but my bookish stays prominent because happily ever afters, like that's a huge component to like everything I read. Like I need that HEA. Like don't come at me if the book does not have one. That is no stress. I do not want. Do not want that.
Yes.
So I feel like
Fair.
it was like a good transition. And but the thing is, like throughout it all, there has been a definite softness because I still will definitely speak out on my account when things bother me or like there's something going
Hmm.
on, especially since we're living in such a chaotic time. There are still very important things that we need to talk about. And I am very much a person that like, I also don't want to mislead people. I am very much
Hmm.
like, I know who I am. Um, but I do find that like, yeah, there's definitely this softness that came because also there was a lot of book talk draw or like Bookstagram. Like there's just a lot of author community drama. And I'm very much the person that will like still stick up for it, especially if there's proof of people being mean. I'm like, no, I'm like, we will not be doing this. So I will get a little feisty sometimes,
Yeah.
because I don't like when people are being mean, so I will jump in,
Yeah.
especially to defend people, because 'cause I'm like, "No." Um, and so it's definitely like I pick my battles because there
Yeah.
are certain things that I'm like, and I'm very open, like, if somebody comes in my DMs and asks me something, I'm always honest, like, I'm not gonna beat around the bushes, like, what you see is what you get, and if you want to know something, I'll tell you. I have no problem,
Mhm.
like, I'm very like, I'm learning about who I am, but I also know my morals and I know where I lie, so that is huge for me. But as I get older, yeah, like, it's knowing that person, but also being, like, soft and gentle with myself specifically because
Yeah.
I do know myself. I'm very passionate, I can be feisty, so sometimes it's, like, that healthy balance of being able to be softer and gentler with myself instead of always
Mhm.
feeling like I have to be on or have to be in, like, in attack mode, like, I do not want that.
Yeah, and I think it's important too because I come from a bit of a witchy bent, right? So, and I love the triple moon, the triple goddess, and stuff like that. And I'm very much in my like mother era, right? Like, and you can be soft, and you can be feminine, and you can be positive, and you can be kind, but you can also put up with zero bullshit, right? And you can do it in a way that is, like, and so I think that often too. It's kind of a it's kind of a tangent, but I kind of want to go there. With that idea of when we're young and we have that like fight energy, right? And we're like, yes, like I have to fight tooth and nail, and these are my opinions, and these are my beliefs, and we believe so strongly. And then as we get older and we experience life and we like move through relationships and go through different phases, we sort of like kind of shed a little bit of those or sort of soften those edges, I guess. But it's not from a place of like apathy or I don't care anymore. It's from a place of like I don't have to constantly be upregulated. I can I can enjoy my life. I can live in joy and happiness and softness and love, but then I can also say like and like I said, I'm in my mother era, right? And so having a preteen daughter, I'm very much having to do that all the time with that like, "I love you, but if you talk to me like that again, we're gonna have words." Right? And so finding ways to sort of, like, set those boundaries and boundaries are like, it's an interesting thing to me, especially when it comes to social media in the sense of, like, holding boundaries doesn't have to be armored up sword wielding. It can be just like, "No, this is a line, don't cross it." Welcome, you're welcome here, but this is where I draw the line kind of thing. And so there's not really a question attached to that, but I'm just wondering if you have any thoughts or feelings about that kind of perspective.
I would fully agree. Like, I boundaries are huge in for me, like, that's been something I've been learning. That has been my focus for the last 2 years of my, life, especially in therapy, because I didn't have boundaries before. Like, I was very much if somebody wanted me to do something, I'm like, "Okay," even if I didn't wanna do it. It was like, do it, like, even if it
Yeah.
upset me, it was like, "Okay, I'll do it," like, I don't wanna stir the pot, and I grew up in a house that, like, don't stir the pot. And now I'm very much at, like, I'm gonna stir the pot if it makes me unhappy, and my therapist and she's working with me to be stronger at those things because while I don't want to upset other people or whatnot,
Mhm.
I have to sit with myself every day, and if I am just being pushed around or somebody doesn't want me to stand up for myself, no. No, like, that's my
Mhm.
like, I'm gonna stand up for myself if I don't like something. I shouldn't have to take it just because somebody doesn't want me to stir the pot. I That's just not a
Yeah.
thing. Um, and I think for like, on social, I very much have that boundary, like, I don't a lot of people love to engage, like, if somebody's in their comments being like, "Meh, meh, meh," they love to engage back where I'm like, "Nah." I'm like, that's you can try all you want. If you wanna start a battle with other people in my comments, go for it, but I will not engage unless it's something extremely thing usually I will just hide or block or delete it because I'm like, "No, I don't want that energy on my page in general." But sometimes people just wanna stir the pot to stir the pot, and I have boundaries where I'm like, "No." I'm like, "I will not engage." Like, I don't have the time to have a keyboard warrior fight with you. It's
Mhm.
not what I want on my page, and it's hard, like,
Yeah, and
boundaries. Go ahead.
that I was just gonna say that's I'm also a recovering people pleaser, so yay, we should start a club. Um, but Yeah, and working through that, I have done that in therapy as well and really worked on setting those boundaries, and I almost see it as, like, walking away from the pot. I'm not interested in what's in the pot, never mind stir it or not. I'm just gonna, like, "Okay, that's how thank you for projecting all your shit on me." Like, no, I'm not gonna it's like when you're little and you're like, "I'm made of rubber and you're made of glue." That's sort of how I feel now.
Yeah.
Right? Or I'm like, "Nope, it's not gonna stick. I'm not gonna." Some things bother me. I mean, obviously, I'm not like,
You pick and choose your battles, right? Like there's certain
yeah,
things, like I know for myself, like my family, like I grew up in a household where it was again, don't stir the pot, like keep your mouth shut, basically. And it was when I was in therapy, my therapist was like, why? Like if something hurts you, let them know. Like she's like,
yeah,
fight back. Like there's nothing wrong with that either. And I was like, hmm. And I still have a vivid memory the first time I did it. And like I remember the like silence that took over the room when it happened because
mhm.
I nobody expected me to stand up for myself. And I was like, ooh, I like this. Like I was like, okay, like this was nice.
Yeah,
I remember going back to my therapist and saying like, I did it. And she was like, you did it. And I was like, I did it. And she was like, good for you. And she's like, how did you feel after? I said, I felt great, especially since it was like
yeah,
to some of the men in my family, which
uh,
just standing up to men sometimes is
eh,
just really fun. So
yeah. Yeah, that's a my the fir I remember the first time I said to, like, my husband and I don't really fight a lot. We bicker
me neither.
constantly. We're like an
Yes.
old married couple, and we have been since the day we started dating, right? And, like, sometimes we'd be out and we're just like at each other, and people are like, "Do they even like each other?" But we almost never fight, and I attribute it to the fact that we are constantly making jokes and, like, riffing off of each other and sort of like, like, taking the piss, as the British would say. Um, and, but I do remember the very first time where he was, like, frustrated at something, and it had nothing to do with me, but he was trying to make it my problem, and I was like, "Those are your feelings, and when you're done dealing with your feelings, then I'm happy to talk about it, but I'm not going to carry your feelings." And I remember the look he was like, "Uh, what did you just say?" Like, that c 'cause I come from a place of, like of, um or silence was dangerous, right? And so, like, if you when things get really quiet, I get really tense because I'm like, who's gonna jump around like this? My life was a jump scare, basically, when I was little. And so I would always be as soon as he would get frustrated, I would be like, how do like, even if I didn't do anything, how do we fix this? How do I get this? What do you need? Are you hungry? Do you need to like go for a run? What do you need to feel better? And then he'd get annoyed with me because I'm like nattering at him about all the things, right? But then when I stopped doing that, he was like shocked and kind of shook a little bit because he's like, this is not who are you? What happened? What's going on?
It's so true. I'm the same way. I'm like, that's the thing too, is I'm the same way. I'm like, what do you need? What can I do? Like, is there anything, any way that I can help you? Like, that's one thing. My husband, he gets very stressed with work, and like, I will like try to like jump in and be like, what can I do? And I'm like, I realistically can't do anything because I don't know what the heck he does for
Mhm.
his job. It sounds complicated as hell. So I'm just like, what can I do? And sometimes he's just frustrated. He's like, there's nothing you can do, like whatever. And I'm like, now I'm just kind of like, I'm like, you be
Yeah,
frustrated, work through your feelings, and then we can chat later when
yeah.
you're done.
Well, and the big thing
Why am
there
I
too is knowing that like frustration doesn't equal being unsafe anymore, right? Like that I don't when other people are upset, I no longer feel unsafe because 'cause I'm like, I'm not in the situation where I would have been unsafe in that. So, like, I have sort of down regulated my own system, and so now I can just let him be frustrated or let him be upset or grumpy, like, he's a dude. He's grumping around, slamming stuff in the garage, trying to like, he's building things, and he's like, "What is this stupid wrench?" And I'm just like, "Okay, let me know if you need anything." And I just kind of move on. And he does the same thing to me. I had a habit, um, as a kid, I have a habit of falling apart so that because then so if I fall apart and get really emotionally upset about stuff, then it proves that you love me, quote unquote, if you kind of swoop in and pick up the pieces and whatnot. And I also remember the first moment where he told me he was like, "I love you, but you're being unreasonable. And when you have figured this out, you let me know and we'll talk about it." And I remember being like, what the hell was that? Like, it just stopped, like, such a jarring thing. But, anyways, I want to bring that all back into the realm of romance, because something that you said earlier triggered this whole tangent, and I'm going to bring it back there.
I
The
like
idea of
tangents.
reading romance and these, that a lot of this healing and a lot of these things, like when we're reading romance books that are centered on women, written majority by women for women, um, and we're reading these characters and they are healing themselves, they're choosing themselves, they're not putting up with bullshit, they're raising their standards, they're all of these things, and that it's just like romance gets kind of a bit of flack for like quote unquote causing unrealistic expectations, which is another topic for another day. That would be a whole podcast episode on its own. But I wanted to ask you about like to go a little bit deeper into what exactly about romance draws you in and how that kind of fits with your whole life philosophy and your healing and your journey and all of that kind of stuff.
Big questions for a Friday. I'm like, my brain's like, "Meh."
Well, that you start there. Start there. We'll see where we go.
I don't know. Like for me, like romance, like you can always, and that's there's just the formula, right? Like you know what you can expect in a romance, and that I like again, it brings that safety because no matter what happens, whatever journey you're getting to in a romance book, you know that they're gonna fall in love and be together. And I think that is really like it brings that sense of comfort and safety, knowing that even though they're going through all this shit, you know it's gonna end up being a happily ever after, all that stuff. And I think that's the one thing too that people, even if there's, I think a lot of times too is there's that unrealistic standard that we think, but then if you really bring it in, there's a lot of real, like authors tend to write from what they've experienced, what they've
Hmm.
known. In some instances, like those, there's just like little hidden things if you really look into it. Um, and I find that a lot of people might not like those things because they don't want to have to think about themselves in that situation sometimes. I'm going to go to the one trope that I know people absolutely have very many opinions on, and it's the miscommunication trope.
Hmm.
Because I do find that that trope, as much as people hate it, it is so real. Like it is so real.
So
There's
real.
growing up, I knew so many people that got like relationship issues, and it was all because of miscommunication, not because they didn't know how to communicate, because they didn't know how to talk, and it really it's so real. And those unrealistic standards that we love to think about are really not that unrealistic. Having a lot of time, again, like we women write a lot of majority of the time women are writing these romances, so they're writing what we want in men, like to be cared for, to have a man stand up for you. And that's not to say like a woman can't stand up for herself, because absolutely we can, but
Right.
sometimes it is nice for a man to do it. Like it is nice to
Hmm.
have that and just have a partner who supports you and puts you first, both in life
Hmm.
and in the bedroom. Like it's nice.
Yep.
So like it's that's we see that as unrealistic, but it really shouldn't be. Like it shouldn't be something that's
Yeah.
unrealistic to have somebody who is our partner through and through and supports us. Like
Hmm.
it's shouldn't be unrealistic. It should be very much like the bare minimum. So
Yeah.
like it's very hard.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing, like when people are like, oh, romance causes unrealistic expectations. I'm like, give them to me. What are the unrealistic expectations? Tell me. What,
Yeah.
the woman gets to orgasm first? Okay, relax. Not that unrealistic, my guy. Like, slow down.
Yeah.
So I feel like sometimes it's like, what are these unrealistic expectations people like think romance is setting? Because I don't think it sets unrealistic expectations. I think it shows how women they want to be treated, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like there's nothing wrong with a woman wanting to be put first or wanting to be cared for, knowing that she can still be an independent bad bitch. But it's
Hmm.
nice to know that you have someone that's supporting you being an independent bad bitch.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. And honestly, I think mostly the most unrealistic part of romance novels is the fact that you're going to be able to move to New York and afford apartment.
thank you. That, or it's like when they're like, there's like, I love a good nanny romance, and it's like, oh, like you're a nanny, you're getting paid 10,000 a month. I'm like, pardon me? I'm like, if that's the job, I'll go for it. Where do I get that job?
Yeah.
Like, huh?
Yeah.
Like that's exactly it. Sometimes it's like the jobs, or especially like if you know that job, which that's why sometimes I
Hmm.
have to like pull away when it comes to certain jobs. I'm like, man, that's not how it works. But it's fine.
Yeah.
Like I find yes, the most unrealistic parts of romances is usually that. It's like moving somewhere or like something crazy. But I'm like, it also works for the plot. So I'm not gonna question it that much. Like I don't care that much. I'm here for the entertainment and the joy and the happiness. Like
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I like the way, so I explain it like one of my favorite authors is Emily Henry, and I love how absolutely absurd her plots are, but her characters are so real. Like, who would ever in a million years move in with their ex's person, like their ex's ex or what, however that works out? Like, who would do that? Like, Funny Story is one of my favorites by her, but I'm like, I would like, if my partner cheated on me, I would never move in with that person's partner. Like that, no, I would. There would be a lot of anger, like in a lot of different directions. Anyways, but the characters themselves and the emotions and the feelings, and for me, one of the reasons why I love her books so much too is because the men are real. Like I am finding that there is almost kind of like this. It used to be the female characters in like hetero romance that were really like shit on, right? They had to be perfect. The only flaw that they were allowed to have is they're a little bit clumsy and they talk too fast or whatever. Like basically they're just ADHD. That's like the flaw that they're allowed to have. Um and which I relate to as an ADHD person who talks too fast and is weird. But anyways, I'm starting to see this sort of shift into these men that are also not allowed to be flawed, or they're not allowed to be um uh, I don't know, like I've lost my words, but the reason why I like the Emily Henry's books a lot is because the men in her books are just like, they make mistakes. They make the wrong choice and they have to like amend for that. They're not these like knight in shining armor, 6'4" buff dudes who just like, they're just like real guys. And I'm not like saying anything bad about the 6'4" ripped dudes, because time and place, obviously, for all the things. But like that's what I like about the realness of it, where you can see the growth in both sides. I don't know. Is that, you probably read a lot more than I do. So, so is that something that you see? Are you seeing like a little bit
yes.
of this like
Yes, a
the
hundred.
perfect man?
Yeah, I definitely have seen like the step away from the perfect man is happening, which I also love because, or even just like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, the perfect person, no matter
Mm-hmm.
what, because our experiences make us who we are. Like everything that
Mm-hmm.
we go through as humans makes us, sometimes we make those mistakes or those things happen, and that's just who we are, and it's what makes us who we are. And I do
Mm-hmm.
love that I have been noticing. I can think like top of mind in my brain is like I just read a Why Choose Romance, whereas the girl had her struggles, but all the different guys did too. Like they all had their things that
Mm.
they were working through, their own traumas that they were trying to work towards. Like it felt so real. And for me, like I am loving that kind of direction in the romance world is kind of happening, where we're writing real characters. Like even if they are the 6'4" buff, like they've got trauma, they've got issues,
Yeah.
and that's real. And I'm okay with
Yeah.
it. Like I want, like nobody's perfect. Find me a perfect human being. Like it's just not a thing. And I
Mm-hmm.
love being able, and like I obviously still love the fact that we are taken away. Like we are escaping reality by going into these stories, but the characters are real. Like it feels like you really know them because they're also experiencing human emotions that I go through on a day, or like I've been through it, and I like that. Like
Mm-hmm.
I like that I'm like, "Oh, you feel so real." Like I feel like I know you even though you are very much fictional, but it's because
Yeah.
they have depth to them, and they have that growth to them, and they're not just these like, I always go back, like I think of like the grumpy millionaire, and like that was his
Right.
personality, was the grumpy millionaire, and that's all you got. Like there was nothing else to him. But like now it's like you can write the grumpy billionaire, but he has issues, and like we're working through those issues, and like you have to get through that, and like they're gonna make mistakes because they always do. So it just
Yeah.
makes it well-rounded story, but also it as a reader, it just makes you feel connected to it a little bit more than writing these like
Yeah.
super like perfect characters that I'm like, no, can't relate. I'm like,
Yeah, the hyper masculine man, right? Which, again, if you're writing a fantasy and he's a warrior and a war general and he's, like it fits 100%. It fits.
yeah.
But like, yeah, I don't know. I did a lot of, I know you've read Wildfire. And I hemmed and hawed and spent so much time, like the breakthrough moment for Zan in Wildfire happens with his therapist. Like, and I went back and forth about that forever because I'm like, this is a romance book. Like, he should, she should be the one that helps him see, and they should, but then eventually I ended up landing on that he has to go to therapy. He's mandated to go to therapy because he's a firefighter and he sees somebody die, and that's real. I interviewed 2 firefighters, wildfire firefighters, and like they really helped me hone in on what would actually happen. Um and he doesn't want to do it, and he pushes it off, push it off, and then he makes the choice to do the work for her, but she doesn't see that shift when he actually like lets the therapist in and says what he needs to say and does that. But that was like an agonizing decision for me because I'm like, this is a romance, it should be between them. But then eventually I just had to be like, no, he's doing it for her, but she doesn't see it happen, right?
Yeah, and like, and that's the thing too, is that it's again, like I just love having that both characters, they have different experiences. They're both dealing with their own things. And like
Mm-hmm.
that's the thing is I like now that both characters are working to themselves and trying to better themselves. It's not just the female has to fix herself, like, mm-mm. Like, no. The guy
Yeah,
usually has to fix himself too. Like, uh-uh.
exactly.
Like, no. So I like that now we're seeing that growth between both of the like FMC and the NMC or whatever like it is. Like I like that we're seeing growth happening on both ends. It's not just a one-way street of being like this person has to fix themselves. Everyone is healing in some way,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
right? So I do like that. We're seeing more of that dimension happening in writing. It's really nice to see that it's not just focused on the main character has to fix themselves. It's like no, like all the characters are kind of working towards some sort of growth in some way.
Yeah. Almost like you have to choose yourself before, right? Like you have to love yourself before you can truly let somebody else love you. And I think that that's sort of a thing that's edged its way into mainstream romance books, which I love. I love to see that because it's true. And you
I've
can't
been
tell
reading so
somebody how
many
to love
books.
you.
Yeah. I've been reading so many books where that's exactly it. It's like I have one top of mind. I can't think of what the book is called, but they literally had that where the one character knew that he was struggling so much that he had to take a step back. He like there was I think it was a Why Choose Omegaverse romance, I think, but he literally pulled away
Okay.
from his pack and he was like, I need to work on myself and like moved out of their pack house, went off to got his own apartment, was seeing a therapist, and he knew he had to work on himself before he even attempted to get back into his pack. And like I think also
Hmm.
that's a part of the reason why I've been migrating towards Omegaverse romances lately is because I do find that
Okay.
they are that trope subgenre that really does focus like there's a focus on all character growth, and I love it because it's never just one person. It's like
Mm.
all of them are growing towards something. All of them have their issues, they have background, they have like there's that character arc there. Like it's there's I really find that there's something in there and I love seeing it. So I think that's why I've kind of like been going towards that like subgenre and trope lately, is because of that, because I really like to see that like all the characters are going through something, because I do find that all humans are going through something. Like
Hmm.
everybody, you can look at someone, they have a smile on their face, super happy, but we don't know. Like we have no idea what's
Hmm.
going on. Like I think that makes a book special, is when you can relate to the characters, when you know that they're not just these perfect fictional characters. There's things going on that makes the story go on, but also just makes
Hmm.
you relate to them a little bit more.
Yeah.
I hope that's
Yeah.
making sense. But
Absolutely. I've never read an Omegaverse, actually, to be honest. So I know. I'm sorry. You should give me recommendations. I'll try.
I got you. Don't worry. I will
Yeah.
send
Yeah.
lots.
Don't overwhelm me with like, 3. Give me 3.
I was gonna say I'll give you two, and then I'll give you my top two, and
Okay.
there we go.
Okay. That works. That works. Um Yeah, so I want to kind of shift back to the social media landscape a little bit too, because I find that these things do really come through um on your account. And um how do you sort of choose what to post about? Do you have schedules or planners? Do you go off the top of your head? Do you like do third party, like kind of how do you do that, in case there's anybody listening who's like, I really want to start doing something like this or try out social media, but I don't really know what to do or what to start out. And not like in a do these 5 things, but like what did you do and what
Yeah.
worked well for you?
So, and that's the crazy part for me because for people who don't know, I also work full time in social media. Like my full time 9 to 5 is working in corporate social media. So
Mm,
I have a lot of different lenses when it comes to social because I have it from a corporate lens because there's a lot more rules and legalities there when it comes to creating stuff there. I have my personal account, which is where my fun place, that's where my heart sits, is like where I get to be open and be who I am. But I also do help authors with their socials. So I'm really in like an everywhere type of place when it comes to social. And like for my corporate one, I have a content calendar. Like I build that calendar out. Like I'm working on July right now. Like I have a
wow.
Excel sheet. Yeah, I have an Excel sheet that's broken out by day, what the theme is going to be of that post, what channel it's going on. And that's like I think that is the best way to get started on social is to kind of have a plan and know
Mhm.
like kind of what you want to do. I know when I first started what was Beautiful Bitch Book Reviews is now Happily Ever Alexandria. I did have like a content calendar where I broke out like in my notebook. I was like, okay, on Monday I'm posting this and Tuesday I'm posting this. And it was very much like a consistency thing where I was like, okay, I have to post every single day to have this growth and that's what I'm going to do. And that's still kind of like that was what I was doing. And I still use that content calendar format for my corporate job. But for me personally, I am sporadic. I have nothing planned. Most of the stuff that you will see on my page, I likely came up with that either that day or the day before, or maybe like 2 days before. Like I am so not scheduled at all on my own page. Like I really just go with the flow of what I'm feeling that day. I will sometimes like take like I'll do like a content day just of book reviews. So I'll like
Mm,
take book review photos of no or like book recommendation photos that I plan to share, but I don't have like a schedule at all for my page. Like it really is willy-nilly. Like I just post whatever I'm feeling. Oh, I found this video. Oh, this could be a cute sound and I just basically wing it. Like I have
okay.
no structure to my page at all. Like I am very much like it's and I'm not aesthetic. Like I what you see is what you get. That's always been my thing is like I am not going to change who I am. What you're seeing on my page is what I get. And the one thing I love being told from people is like what they see on my page is exactly how I act in real life. And it's very true because I don't know how to have two personas. What you see is what you get.
Right.
So when it comes
Yeah.
to my social, I'm very much like this is it. And then when it comes to like my author pages, it really depends what I'm doing for that specific page. So for the one author I have, I do have a content calendar for her, which I basically replicated my work calendar and pushed it over to her, but modified it and made it so it's more focused on her books and what I'm planning on doing there. And so like for that one, I have a structure to that one. And then that way I can also, when I go at the end of the month and I pull all these analytics for this author to be like, okay, here's everything we did. Here's what worked, what didn't work. We have an idea. And then for the other author account, I have a little bit more freedom there because I've been at it for it's been 5 years now. I've been on that account. So I have a little bit more freedom
Wow.
to like post what I want on that one and have kind of free reign over that page because I also do work with a lot of influencers
Hmm.
on that page. So I have a little bit more freedom. And that
Okay.
one's more like, again, it's the spur of the moment. If I'm like, oh, this would be a really good reel for her or this would be a really good thing, like I'll just do that and I'll slide it in. Sometimes I will like preemptively schedule stuff on that shop page and kind of get it going. Um, but it really depends. Like again, like those are work. So I really treat them as like,
Mhm.
okay, I have to post, I have to do this, da da da. Whereas my personal account, I'm not getting paid for it. So I can just do whatever I want. I can post today or not post today. Like I really have the
Mhm.
freedom. I have no structure there and I don't force myself to try and have a structure because I have that at my work and I'm being paid for that. So obviously I
Mhm.
love it. But like my page is meant to just be this little happy place. It's my little happy place. So I very
Right.
much don't have a structure. Um, but I do stay up to date on like changes that are constantly happening because I have to because of my jobs. So it gives me that advantage of
Hmm.
knowing like on even my personal page is what is working, what's not, because I'm already
Right.
doing it for my full-time jobs.
Fair. Although I would like to say, all of that said, you're like you said you don't have an aesthetic, but you do. I am a designer and a brand special like that's what I do is branding. And you have a very because I was gonna say, how do you make everything look so cohesive, right? And that I want to point out to anyone listening is that I believe from a branding perspective that brands are not created. You cannot engineer. I mean, you can if it's a corporation, but if it's a personal brand, you cannot engineer it because it already exists inside of you. And so because people are saying that you are the same way that you are, but like your color palettes are the same, the softness, the editing, the lighting, the everything just seems to be very cohesive, even if it's not like exactly right. Like you have a brand. And was that I'm getting the sense that that wasn't really intentional.
No, definitely not. Like, I do like, if I'm posting, like, a photo, like, I do have a filter that I use, like, I have, like,
Okay.
3 different, like, is it presets? I guess they're called presets.
Yeah.
I have 3 separate presets that I kind of dive between. I'm like, "Oh, like, how does this one look? How does this one look?" And I kind of bounce between those presets, but when it comes to, like, videos, I just kind of go with the flow. Sometimes I'll edit based on, like, the sound that I'm using so that, like, if it hits the mark of the beat, that's kind of how I'm doing it that way. But yeah, like, I would not say that a lot of what I do on my page is intentional. Like, I very much just it's random. Like, I will have an idea or, like, I'll see something on social that makes me a little angry, like, something negative about romance, and then I'm like, I'm in a tangent on Canva or in my notes being like, "This is how to make this post," then I'll just go off and, like, on romance books or something, and I'm like,
Yeah.
there's certain things that do bring out, like, certain tangents that I'm like, "Oh, this needs to be something. I don't know what, but I'm gonna figure it
Hmm.
out." And so, like,
Yeah.
there is, like, the intention there. If I see something that I'm like, "Oh, I wanna talk about this," like, I do have those posts where I make, like, a carousel talking about romance books because 'cause I'm like, "Y'all make me angry." I'm like,
Hmm.
"Stop shitting on romance." And so, like, I
Yeah.
do have that, but most of the time, it's, like, very unintentional. It's just how I'm feeling that day or, like, what I see on social. If there's, like, a trend going, I'm like, "Okay, let's jump on it." Because I love, like, certain
Hmm.
trends, I love being able to twisting them and making them bookish or making them whatever it is that day that I'm feeling. I'm very much a spur of the moment social person when it comes. I think that's because I have so much structure on all my other channels that I kinda have to
Fair.
follow what I'm doing, whereas my personal one, I'm like, "Let's go crazy." I'm like, "I don't wanna have
Yeah.
any rules, I
Freedom.
don't wanna." Yeah, freedom. I'm like, "I don't wanna have to, like, focus on it, just post whatever I'm feeling and we'll call it a day, and if it does well, great, if it doesn't, well, it's not the end of the world."
Yeah, exactly. And the reason kind of why I brought that up too is that I think a lot of people put a lot of pressure on themselves to try and like, what is it doing? So one thing I've talked about it multiple times on the podcast already, but it bears repeating. Um, that you I believe that you can't really worry about emulating what people do. The best way to like get inspiration is to try and emulate that how they feel, if that makes sense. So like and that's why I kind of wanted to talk about it because the fact that it's not that you're like unintentional or not paying attention or whatever, but that you just do things so tied to your own passion and your own interests that it comes across as if it was very much on purpose, right? And so
Yeah.
it's like if I was starting a social media, it would be completely pointless to look at your account and try to emulate what you do. But what I could do is I could be like, what do I love in my life as much as is passionate about in her life? Like, and where can I find that passion within myself? And how can I like bring that forward instead of, and I think it's interesting because the conversations I've had about it so far have been about books. Like the idea of these books become huge and then all of a sudden the example that I used with another author was like Fourth Wing, right? Where it's like it exploded and then all of a sudden everyone's writing military academies and dragons and all this kind of stuff, but like it didn't become that big because of the dragons. It became that big because she wrote from a place of something she truly, truly knew and understood and was passionate about, right? And that's what you kind of want to like you know, so the reason why I bring it up with you is because that also is true in a social media sense, that it's really easy to look at what other people are doing on social media and be like, I should do that because they're successful with it. But then you do it and you kind of like not copy, but emulate, I suppose.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work because it doesn't
Yeah.
feel authentic.
And that's exactly it, right? Like, so in social media, again, that's what we've been kind of seeing the shift in the social media world is that authenticity. Like a lot of those influencers that were like fully salesy, like you're kind of seeing that dying because people are now following people that they can relate to, that feel real, like that feel like a friend almost, even though like there is that whole parasocial line that should not be crossed. Like, again, you
Yeah.
don't know this person in real life, even if they very much are the same person in real life to online. Um,
Hmm.
but that authenticity is huge. It is so important. And that's a lot of people is like you want to replicate, like I know it's a big thing in Bookstagram, like you want to blow up, you want to be huge, you want to follow these people. So you try following exactly what they're doing, but it's not working for you. And it's like, because that's not your voice. That's not you.
Hmm.
That's not you. Like you don't want to force something that's not working. Find something that works for you and just go with it. And I'm
Hmm.
like a firm believer that like social media is weird. The algorithms are weird. Honestly, I work in them and I can't even make sense of them half of the time because I've been on my personal social for 8 years. And this past December was the first time I've ever had a video go viral and it hit over a
Hmm.
million views. And I was so confused.
Wow.
And it was literally the most random where I was like zooming in on a book quote and then I like made a face. And I was like, oh, I was like Christmas music. You could see the Christmas lights, but like it was the most random video that popped off. And I was like, what in the heck is, and it's still to this day, still getting engagement. And I'm like, I don't know what I did. It took me 2 seconds. I literally filmed it in the moment at the time, posted it, no thoughts, just vibes. And
Just
it blew
vibes.
up. Yeah, just vibes. And like even I posted recently a Bath and Body Works. I got the cute little plug-in bookshop because it's a bookshop. I needed it in my office. And I posted that again, made it in like 10, like I made it like in 20 seconds. And that's another one that's doing really well. Like I am like I don't know how to make things like to me I'm like there's no hack. Like I see it
Yeah.
in all my like channels that I work with. I'm like there's no hack. It's just pure. Sometimes it's just things work and things don't. And that's okay. Like there's the, and again, like social, there's this pressure. There's this pressure of numbers. And I'm like, I hate
Hmm.
numbers. I like words. Like I
Hmm.
don't want to think about the numbers. I'm like, if a post gets 10 likes, whatever. Like it's my thing
Yeah.
too is I always like remind myself because I do sometimes, like I'm not gonna lie, sometimes the numbers do get to me.
Hmm.
But then I also like to take it back and I don't like speaking in front of people. Like even though I know I can do it. I don't like it, but I'm also like,
Hmm.
imagine like I look at that post. I'm like, if that post has 50 likes, I'm like, that's 50 random people. Imagine like
Hmm.
actually like speaking to those people. I'm like, if one of my
Hmm.
videos get 300 views, I'm like, imagine that. Ooh. I'm like, no. I'm like, that's crazy. Like we need to like, so like 100 is a lot. Like that is a big number.
Yeah.
Like in the world of social
I
media,
mean,
we've created this like thing that it's not, but it is. Like,
yeah. Yeah, like if 15 people ended up walking into your house and were like listening to you with rapt interest at what you had to say, I'd be like, "Whoa, where did you why?" But there's like I
yeah.
feel
And like
like
even overwhelmed. And like even if you think about
yeah.
like on Instagram, it's like people come and be like, "Oh, you look so good, you look so pretty." Da da da. It's like imagine 15 people coming up to you in person and bombarding you. That you'd be like, "Ah, like what is happening?" Like it
Yeah.
would be so strange. So I think it is true that social has created this weird like process of us. Like we find that these things that we put so much pressure on ourselves to get 10,000 followers, to get these followers, get these likes, and it's like it's just how about you just do you? You find the
Yeah.
people that really like to connect with you. And there you know that you're not alone. You know there's other people and they'll find you and they'll meet you at some point. It
Yeah.
becomes this thing where yeah, like you want to be like other people or you're comparing yourself and like comparing like it's the worst thing. We're constantly comparing
Mhm.
ourselves to others and it's like terrible because it really it puts us down. And realistically it's like no, like find your voice and just push
Mhm.
that on social. And there's so many people that I see that they've taken off because that's what they do and then other people try to do it and it doesn't go as well. But it's like that's them. Like that's who they are and that's
Mhm.
like when you hear it like that, like you just that's how you associate them and not
Yeah.
everyone is that. Like you have to create you
Yeah.
have to be yourself and create your own authenticity on your page instead of trying to copy, being a copycat, basically.
Yeah, and people will I mean, to look at that same scenario from the other perspective, it would be like if you had 5 people in your house really wanting to, like, listen to what you had to say, but you're like, "Where's everybody? Where's the party? Why is nobody here?" Those 5 people sitting there, they're like, "I'm here, bitch. Talk to me." Right? Like like,
Hello,
and
like
so that's and always constantly changing and shifting and trying and personaing and all of that kind of stuff. You get people who are like, I'm really interested in what this person has to say, but then all of a sudden next week, you think, oh, my numbers are junk, and so I'm going to change everything up. And then that person's like, what is this? This is not what I signed up for. Like, and so it's just like thinking about it sort of in that real world context helps. It definitely helps me a lot more, especially as a introvert who lives in the literal middle of nowhere. And so I'm like, if 20 people showed up to like listen to what I had to say, I would panic. And so like, my email, I think my email list, I call it constantly. I have like maybe I think like 600 people on it, and I have a 60% open rate, which is a huge number. But sometimes I panic at that too because I'm like, what do I say? What do I do? And I'm using email as an example too because I don't really have I'm not big on social media. I don't use it a whole lot, but email is kind of where my vibe is. But so if you're kind of sitting there in front of your posts and you're like, you have some people and they're paying attention, and then you get that like, oh, now what? Now what do I do? Like, do you ever get those moments? And do you have something um that's like that works for you? Because I can kind of hear people sitting there thinking like, oh, well, that's great for you that you know who you are, but like, how do I find out who I am? And how do I start that process? Do you have any thoughts or feelings or opinions on that?
I think for me, it's been a lot of testing and learning. Like
Mm,
I again, because I'm such a sporadic poster, I kind of just go with the flow. I'll test things, I'll post things that I like, but maybe they don't resonate with other people, and that's okay. But like that's kind of
mhm,
how I learn what I kind of like to post like on my socials and go from there. Um, but also like learning about who you are is hard. It's not something that just naturally like I'm still learning who I am. So when I post something, I do like to be more vulnerable because it does show that other aspect of someone versus just constantly, sharing book recommendations. Like I do like
mhm,
to also show that human aspect because again, we're on this massive realm that's on this little phone or on this little computer and we don't know these people, but I like sharing that vulnerability. And yeah, like trying to find out like who you are, like what you want to post. It's hard. Like
mhm.
it really, and it's hard, especially when people do expect that something from you. Like if you just post books and like people just like they follow you for the books, and then you kind of post something else, and they're like, oh, like
Yeah.
I don't want this, and you're kind of like, ooh, you're like, should I have posted that? But that's another thing too, is like again, we're our own worst critics. So we can post
Mhm.
something and be like, oh no, like maybe I should just stick to books. And I'm a firm believer like that you need to have a niche. Nah. I'm like
Yeah.
we're humans. We have so many different things about us that are not just that one little thing. So again, it's going to be those people that are like, I love your book recommendations, but I also like seeing the human behind the screen. Like I like seeing your vulnerable posts. I like seeing those little tidbits about your life. Like, that's okay. And like, that's where you kind of have to understand what you want from your social media if you're planning on it. Like, are you wanting to post books but still be yourself, or are you trying to sell something like authors? Are you trying to sell your books and then still give a little bit
Mhm.
tidbit behind the scenes? Because again, humans are authors, or I mean authors are
Mhm.
humans. Authors are humans. And there's so much more to them than just their books. Like they're not machines that just pump out books. Like they have a life, they have a family, they have loved ones. Like there's so much more to them. So
Mhm.
you kind of like it's hard to decide how you want to post and what you want to post. Like it does take time. Like for me, when I very first started my account, and probably for I want to say like 2 to 3 years of my account, I only posted book recommendations. Like that was
Okay.
it. Like I did not. I think I went over a year before I even showed my face on my social, and I was so scared to put
Really?
my face on my social. Oh yeah, I did not start right away with putting my face on my social. It put the like straight fear in me because I was so nervous to put my face to my page. Um, and now I have no issues with it. But it is like it's hard too. Like that's nothing because I talk to a lot of people where they're like, I don't want to show my face on social. Like I don't because their jobs or whatever. Like that's and it's very much true because like I sometimes I post things. I'm like, I'm like, I have people at my work that do follow me, so I'm like, I'm like, pretend you
Yeah,
didn't see that. Swipe
I
away.
was just gonna say that you didn't show your face, and I'm like, now you're posting pictures in your cute little undies.
Yeah, exactly. Right? So it definitely like you kind of I feel like you get like that confidence kind of starts to happen
Yeah.
as you get more familiar with your social, who you are on social and kind of what you want to share about yourself there. So it kind of like you kind of have to start somewhere, right? And you can start with just posting the book recommendations or just posting little things that bring you joy. Like it doesn't have to have this whole plan. Like I didn't have one. I purely just jumped right in and went, well, we're doing this now.
Hmm.
And it just stuck because I am one of those crazy people who genuinely love social media. Like I love it.
Mm,
It's I know a lot of people don't, but I'm one of the crazy ones. It's how I describe myself at work too. I'm like, I'm one of the crazy people who like it. Like it is what it
yeah.
is. But it really it does like it again, it's social media. There's highs and lows about it. Like there
Yeah.
is bad and there's good. So you kind of just have to I had a friend who wanted to start an account and I told them like really sit with it and really know what you kind of want to do with it. And they kind of are just sporadic posters. Like they have like a
Mm,
book account, but they pop in once every couple months, boop, boop. And I'm like, like if that works for you,
hmm.
yes. Like it really depends on what are you trying to get from it? Are you trying to build a
Hmm.
community? Are you trying to just have or are you trying to build a brand where you're gonna start making money or trying to sell something? Like I feel like what you want out of your social makes a huge difference. Like for me, I'm
Hmm.
not trying to sell stuff. Like I do get like I know I influence like I am an influencer technically under the terms, but like I also am like if you want to buy something that I or like read a book that I recommend, great. If not, it's okay. Like I'm
Hmm.
it's there's nothing wrong with that. So I think it just all depends on like what you kind of want and you have to start somewhere. So either
Hmm.
and you can start slowly because it's one thing even at my like corporate job when we're giving like help to other people, it's very much start slowly. Start with one post a week, two posts a week.
Hmm.
Get your footing, get an understanding of what you like to post, what you care about bringing to your page, right? Like it
Hmm.
doesn't have to be starting and having ever post every single day or two posts every single day. Like it can be
Yeah.
just like a dip your toes into the pool a little bit. Like see what kind of how you feel. And you might start and be like, I hate this. I want nothing to do with this. And you might that could be that little like come to moment. Or you might realize that, oh, I kind of like this. This is kind of fun and that might
Hmm.
happen. So it really like, you got to start somewhere and
Yeah.
learn about what you want your page to represent and what you would want it to look like because
Yeah. And I
everybody's
think
page
that,
looks different.
yeah, I think that that probably like the real gold nugget there is knowing is just the fact that you started just with books, not showing your face, and now here's where you are. And that goes back to what you said about comparison, that social media is so much bigger now than it was kind of back then. Like I built a massive following on Facebook. And this was like, I mean, the dinosaurs were still roaming, right, at this point. And it was before the big bait and switch that Facebook pulled. And so like I was just this little baby author. I was like 27 and I'm like, I'm just gonna go in here. I'm gonna talk about this book I'm so excited to write. And I amassed this like huge following, so like thousands of books, and then everything just dried up and went away. But I do think that it is important. Oh, I lost my train of thought. It is important to know that social media is bigger and it's faster now. So like when you see these big accounts that started many years ago, like I lost basically all of my following. So that's just a sad story. We should just cut that out. But like for you, for example, you started what, 8 years ago? And social media was the thing. It was around and people were doing it, obviously, but it was not what it is now.
Right.
And so if you're just starting now and you're seeing all of these big names and these big numbers and these big things, like really the mindset that I would suggest going into it is go back to the beginning. Like, find these pages that have been around for years and be the creeper that scrolls all the way back to the beginning of time and see the difference and how, because you can watch it grow, you can watch it change, you can watch things kind of come together, right? Like what
Absolutely.
do you agree?
Absolutely agree. But it's also hard too, because I do find, again, the algorithm is hard to understand because for me, I've
Mhm.
been on Instagram now 8 years, but I know somebody who started last year and they've surpassed like 10, 20, 30,000 followers in that time span. But again, it's the
Mhm.
content they're sharing. They're sharing what's very different than what I share. Um, and again, like social media, it prefers certain things, right? Like the algorithm right
Yeah.
now, it likes videos where like you start with a hook and you're talking to camera and you immediately get someone's attention that way. Person on camera hook. That's what it likes. It
Mhm.
carousels. It likes the storytelling carousels right now where you start frame
Mhm.
one and it's just a little story that everyone now has to swipe through. And like that's what
Mhm.
the algorithm right now, that's what it's preferring. So if people are
Right.
starting off and just diving right into that, you have a chance of like growing your account in a really good way, but
Mhm.
it really depends on what you're sharing. Like for me, it's like I social media is my full-time job. My brain capacity at the end of
Yeah.
the day is very low. So by the time I'm done, I'm like, oh my God, the last thing I want to think about is like trying to create this long-winded post or put all this effort into this video. Like it's hard sometimes. So I do
Mhm.
find that it's like, yeah, like sometimes it's taking it back for those pages that are just like, they've been here for a while and they're just vibing. Like they're just
Yeah.
doing them. They're not, their aim isn't to grow and amass millions or thousands of followers. They're just being them. And there's
Yeah.
other people that are trying to grow their accounts so that they can, that turn this into a job, which does happen for a lot of people, right? So
Mhm.
it really depends. But sometimes if you really want to get back, like find the heart of it, is like, yeah, go and creep those old, like those pages and be like, what were you like? And you have over like 3,000 posts. What is there? Let's go find
Mhm.
out. Like sometimes that's what it is. And seeing where someone starts to where they are now, it's kind of like, oh, like, wow.
Yeah, like you're allowed, it's almost like a permission slip, right? Like you're also allowed to just start and just do it. And it's okay if it
Yeah.
doesn't like even not from a numbers perspective, but from like a
Stepping out
vibes
of your
or a
comfort zone.
quality. Yeah, and you can see that when their first post that somebody made, like even with the podcast, right? Like I'm also a recovering perfectionist. I'm a recovering a lot of things, but um it was physically painful for me to hit publish on the first couple episodes because I was like, I was nitpicking every single thing in my voice, and I'm like, well, I need to hire somebody to like write music for the intro, and I'm like, no, you don't. Just put it out there. You sound like an idiot, but it's your first podcast episode and it's fine. You'll get better. And now, I'm however many interviews in and I'm smoother and I'm talking easier. Like it's gonna just keep getting better. Maybe not easier, but like simpler. I still get nervous before because I don't know. I'm like, oh geez, what if they don't say anything? And I have to like, wait a minute, wait a minute, like,
Yeah. And the unknown is
and
always scary.
mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So it's like, just give yourself permission to like do it poorly and keep doing it and figure it out and it's fine. And yes, if you say something that hits a nerve, you'll grow really fast and that's cool, but I
Mhm.
also think like I find a lot of the especially the create there's one creator, I can't remember her name, but she is not in the book space. It's a totally different thing. It's a brain thing. But she posted one video and got 20,000 followers. Because she just hit the pulse of the collective unconscious, right? Like she said the thing that we all needed to hear, all of, these thousands of people needed to hear, and everyone was like, "Yes, that." But and then she came back in another video and was like, "What? Where did you all come from?" Like, she's like, I'm just, saying my thoughts on the internet, and all of a sudden, all of you guys are like, me too. And you know, like you could see that it sort of like panicked her a little bit. And now she's cruising with it and going for it. And I think she's at like 100,000 followers now. Like whatever it is, she's talking about things people want to hear. And if that's the case, if that hits you, then that's cool. But I don't recommend starting with that as a goal.
Because that is a lot of pressure, right? Like that's
Yeah.
one thing. Like for me, even like there's a lot of pressure on social. And yeah, like if you just start out and you hit and like you just skyrocket, you're like, uh-oh. Because then you're almost in your brain, like you think that's the expectation. Like I always have to
Yeah.
hit. And it's like, no, you don't. No, you
Hmm.
don't. Like you just do you. And like my thing
Yeah.
too is like I always tell people is like, be kind to yourself and give yourself grace. Like we're just on a spinning orb. It's not that deep. Like it's going to be okay. Like it's social media. Like, you know, as long as you're not being a mean piece of shit, then we're fine. Like,
Yeah, exactly. Don't be a
but if
dick.
you're going to be
That's
yeah, don't be a dick. Don't be a bully. That's when the line
yeah.
is crossed and whatever comes to you,
Mhm.
well,
Yes. That's true. Very, very true. I wanted
it
to
is
ask you
hard.
too about your thoughts on the difference between like the bookstagrammers and then being an author. And there's because I do see a little bit of like I think because Bookstagrammers, that's what they do. That's what they love to do is promote books and make beautiful images and create all this fancy things around books that I think authors are a little bit influenced by that and thinking like they have to look like a Bookstagrammer. And so I just kind of wanted your thoughts or feelings because you write as well as do the influencing and the I don't know, what do you call yourself, a Bookstagrammer? Yeah, okay. Um, then, like, what's the because when you talk I could say this because I have actual data. When you talk about my book, I sell books immediately. Like, I go in there and I'm like, "Oh, I just sold 10 books." And then I go over to your account and I'm like, "Oh, I'm on one of her, like, lists." I'm like, "Look at that, I'm selling books." I talk about my books, fucking crickets. You know, like, so what is the difference in your opinion, with that?
It's that's a weird one because like again, I am terrible at promoting my own books. Like I hate doing it because I have loved stories since I was like in my head I was creating stories. Like again, I didn't like to read, but in my brain I was like coming up with a wild imagination I had. So I was always coming up with
Mhm.
stories in my brain, but I didn't like reading. But then once I started high school, that was when I kind of was like, ooh, and I started reading romance and I was like, I could do this. Like I still have the first book that I started in high school. Like I still have the very first manuscripts in my computer that I'd love to get back to. I'm like, like
Mhm.
reading what my little 14-year-old brain put on a paper a little worrisome. Um, but like it's hard because I don't like promoting my own books, but I love giving other authors love. Like I love sharing other authors and seeing their books fly and soar. And I love seeing I get so much like joy when I see an author. Like there's an author that started book, like she started as an author when I started as a bookstagrammer. And now
Mm.
she's huge. And I'm like, it brings me so much joy to be like, and so like for me, like it's very hard because I don't put the same effort into my author socials or into even work as an author the way that I do my personal account or even like my work
Right.
stuff. Like I really don't. And that's because being an author, like I write stories for me. I'm writing stories like a
Mhm.
lot of every single book that I've written. There's a little bit of me in every single book.
Mhm.
Like whether I talk about it or not, there is something in those books that I've gone through and I relate to, and that's just me putting them on my page. It's almost like a way of therapy for me. And
Mhm.
I'm like, if I've gone through it, maybe somebody else has, and maybe this will resonate with them. Because I
Right.
don't think I'm an amazing writer. So, and that's also another thing too, is like that self doubt is like we're our own
Yeah.
worst critics. Like I said it
We
earlier,
are.
we are our own worst critics. And that's for me, like that's also part of the reason why I don't like posting about my books is
Mhm.
because don't I just don't like it. I'm like if you find my book, I'm like, yay. But if like I don't want to have to put it out there, I'm like, what? That's scary. And
Yeah.
I just don't like putting in the work. It's very different than having to do it for other
Mhm.
people versus myself. Mm. And yeah, it's a weird one because also I like recommending books a lot. And I
Hmm.
think I know that there's this whole discussion too, because there's a lot of bookstagrammers who are now becoming authors, and they're like,
Yeah.
can I still be in both spaces? Like, can I still do this? And it's kind of like, again, we're on a spinning orb. It's not, it
Hmm.
shouldn't be that serious. Like, we should be allowed to love books, scream about these books from the rooftops, and also write our own stories and share our own stories. I agree that, yeah, don't post a negative review. I always of no to negative reviews, especially tagging authors. Like, no. So I think
Yeah.
that, like, that's a big thing that you want to do, because now, like, that is somebody you're both doing the same thing. It's like if you're at work, like, you wouldn't want to put down your coworker either. So
Yeah.
there is that, but I definitely find that I love writing and I love telling stories, and I still do it. And I maybe, like, some stories I may never publish just because I'm doing it for myself. Some stories I just
Right.
like to put out there, but I don't put the same effort into my social as an author that I do for all my other accounts that I do. And it's just
Right.
because I treat them very differently.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think it's important too. I have felt that way for a long time. I wrote a blog post that no longer exists, but it ended up on Reddit, and so then people had thoughts and opinions. I know it was all this. I checked my like website stats, and all of a sudden there was like 700 views of this one page, and I'm like, who on the internet is talking about me? Somebody is talking about me. But anyways, it was the title of the post was "You are a writer, not a content creator," and the basic point was I'm all for promote like marketing, obviously. I'm a brand specialist. I do think that this this pressure as a writer to look like an influencer or a bookstagrammer or a book talker or whatever is a lot of pressure because readers, there is way more trust when somebody recommends something. I use this product. I love this thing. I read this book. I think it's great. Here it is. There's no financial compensation for me. Nobody paid me to say this. I'm not making any money off of this. And so that immediate trust just goes up. It's like an energetic thing, right? Like you're kind of like on the same level. But when you're an author, there's a power imbalance, right? Like I'm trying to sell something, I'm telling you about this thing and I want to make money off of it. And I do think that it is not like treating them both as the same thing. Um is not something that I would personally recommend for somebody that didn't start out. You know, if you start as an influencer and then you become an author and then you kind of move through that process and it feels a little bit more natural. But when you're an author and then you try to kind of come off as an influencer, there's a little bit more like, what are you selling here? What are you trying to get? Like, is it even if I recommend a friend's book, it's like, yeah, but you know, like, of course you're gonna say that your friend's book is, and I know that people aren't overt about it. It's not like this big weird like conspiracy theory or anything like that. It's just when you're really digging into like the numbers or what to post or what I find like as an author, what people are more interested in about me is the behind the scenes. Yes, the stories and the whatnot, but like where I live in a magical fantasy wonderland, right? And that's sort of like when I post things about how I have to chop wood and haul water, and like there is not water in in this dwelling. We have to bring it here and put it in a giant tank, and we have to chop wood and burn it in order to, and people think they're like, oh, you live like a fantasy heroine, and I was like, yeah, but I have a toilet, like, you know, I've got flushing toilets, which is important for me, so I'm not that big of a fantasy heroine at all, but that's the thing that is like interesting, I guess, to other
Well,
people
and
about me.
I think that comes to that full round of, like, authenticity.
Mhm.
When people are showing those behind the scenes is, yes, you're falling in love with the words that these authors are writing and the characters that they're creating, but you're also seeing that this is a real human. Like, this is a
Mhm.
person, and that's what a lot of people like saying, even at my work. Even brands, like big brands, is acting as if they're influencers now. So instead of, doing
Mhm.
super salesy, it's now even big brands are like, okay, we're treating our socials as if, as a brand, we are now influencers. So our content that
Mhm.
we create, our content we put out is going to be the vibe of what an influencer would. And that's kind of the world, I think that's where social is very much shifting, is whether you're a brand, whether you're an author, whether you're, it's having that authenticity, but having like that influencer eye on it is very
Right.
much a thing now. And I find that everyone's doing it. And maybe so not so much in the traditional influencer where like back in like when if you go even 10 years, you thought like an influencer, you're like, oh, they're selling me stuff. Like they're influencing me to sell, to buy something, to, and that's not always the case now, because sometimes it's just here, like this is my book one day, but also here's like behind my scenes. Here's my cat. Here's my dog. Here's my morning coffee. Oh, I went
Hmm.
to this event the other day. Oh, I went to this concert. Like there's a little bit more, there's more dimensions to somebody now versus before where it was just like sell, sell, sell. It's like there's
Hmm.
a human here and there's that authenticity, that human touch now to accounts. Before, like I didn't find, if I even going 10 years, like that wasn't 100%. And you still have those accounts that are very much like, shop this, here's an affiliate link, there's this. And like it's a lot sometimes. But I understand like there's definitely that imbalance for authors of like when they were just pushing their books and now they kind of act like influencers, but it's also kind of like, again, it's giving their readers like that personal
Hmm.
touch. It's that like
Yeah.
you're not just your book. Your identity isn't just the fact that you are a writer and that your books are who you are. You're a
Hmm.
human. You have so many levels to you that is more than just these books.
Yeah. Yeah. It feels very kind of same, but different, right? Like
Yeah.
you
Yes.
can't be a book influencer and an author influencer at the same time. Well, I mean, I'm sure you can. I hate it when people say that. You can't do that. Yeah. I'm sure there are people out there who do. It's harder to do it, in my opinion, because it's coming at it from two, like they're two different things, even though we're writing books and we want readers to read them, but readers are reading books and it's a different experience. And like just being able to be like, this is an author space and this is a reader space and we can be friends and we can hang out together and coexist harmoniously. I mean, we can't because we don't, but like we could try.
We should be able to.
We should. That's like, that's one of the shoulds that I think is legitimate, right? Like we should be nice to each other. We do have
I
a
do.
what is it? A symbiotic relationship, right?
Yes. And I do see that changing slowly because again, more bookstagrammers are starting to publish books. So like
Hmm.
that realm is starting to kind of come together. And I think that
Yeah.
that's okay. Because
Yep.
again, like an author's identity is more than just being an author. There's so much to them. Like maybe they do want to recommend a lipstick that they wore that day, a face cream that they just tried and they loved it. Like that's okay. Like they again, like there's so much levels to somebody. They're more than just the books that they put on the shelves. Like there's a human there, and I think that that's important. And I
Hmm.
love seeing, I like, for me, I love being able to see like all worlds kind of collide and seeing everybody just being together. But I know everyone has big opinions, and some people think that, yeah, like authors, like there's certain spaces, of course, like I think book reviews, especially like Goodreads,
Hmm.
stay the hell away from it. That place does not belong. Like no. And like tagging authors in negative reviews,
Yeah.
no. Like stop it.
Yeah.
Like they don't need to be in that space. That's not the space for them. That's not nice. That they don't need to see that. But
Hmm.
if like you're just following people for vibes and just kind of like being together and you're just like one of those bookstagrammers, like for myself, like I stopped. I again, like I've changed my account a lot in the last few years. Even this week I made a change where I don't post star reviews anymore because I'm like, no,
Okay.
I'm just gonna talk about vibes. Like it's like for me, I'm like a
Hmm.
book, it vibed, and that's it. And I stopped
Hmm.
sharing if there's a book that I read that I didn't love, I just don't share it. I'm like, why? Because I'm like, why am I putting the effort into to write about a book that I didn't enjoy? That's not energy I want. That's not energy anybody else wants. Like, nah, like I just don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And even like it was like my thought even this earlier this week was like book reviews. Like when you think of book reviews, that's like kind of has that you think of a book review and it's where you're critiquing someone and whatever. And I just like
Hmm.
I didn't I that was the change that even this week I made where I was like, now they're gonna be called book thoughts. And it's just gonna be me
Okay.
recommending one book and speaking on that specific book in that post. And
Right.
it's my book thoughts. And it feels like it's okay. Like it feels safe. Like
Hmm.
it's hard because I also again, I love sharing books and I love talking about authors. I love sharing their books, but I also don't want them to like, yeah, like think I'm an author and they're like, oh, like this, she's sharing my books, but she's also an author. And I'm like, no, I'm like, I don't like, I love my books, but I
Yeah.
also like, that's not who I am. Like, I love sharing your books. I love posting about your books. And it is such
Yeah.
a hard like space, especially since we are like social media is very critical. Like let's be real, like there's a lot of judgment, there's a lot of critiquing. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's never going to be this like balance. Like it's always going to be somebody's not going to like something. People don't think certain people should be in certain spaces. Like it's going to happen. But I
Mm-hmm.
just feel like there's bigger issues. There's deeper things going on right now that we really shouldn't be mad if an author wants to share something that they loved or they want to post something outside of their books.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I read a stat somewhere. I don't remember the where, so it might not be credible, but I'm gonna say it anyways because it's in my own little Delulu scenario. It helps me.
We all got
But
those.
it was a stat that was like 80% of the comments on social media are bots. So, like, when
Yes.
you're arguing with somebody on the internet, that person probably doesn't exist. And so anytime anybody says something like super mean, I mean, not I am totally fine having people disagree with me or tell me that I'm wrong or mistaken or whatever. That's not a problem. But when people are just being cruel or mean, it just helps me so much in my own brain to be like, that person's not real. That's a machine somewhere at a data center that's ruining our environment, telling me that I'm stupid.
100%. 100%. And
And
it's
so
also even going like it's 100% accurate that it's likely bots. That's a high percentage of accounts are bots.
mhm. And they're meant to like that, rage bait
Rage
get
baiting.
gets
Yes.
reviews or gets interaction,
Engagement.
engagement.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it gets you your engagement, right? And that's the same thing when somebody posts something controversial. You might not even believe that take, but if you post it, it's going to get interaction, and that's what you want. Even though it might not be good
Mhm.
engagement, but it's going to get it regardless because you're rage
Yeah.
baiting people into
Yeah.
posting, right?
Mhm.
It's starting a conversation, even whether it's good or bad. It's engagement.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Lastly, something I wanted to touch on was the idea of authors reaching out to influencers. And so I'll just preface this with like a little ramble here. So in my dislike of social media, one thing I decided was that I was going to take the time and energy that I was using on posting and trying to promote my books or whatever. And I'm much more chill about it now. This was years ago. Um, and I said, I'm going to shift that attention to reaching out and networking with people who actually truly do love to talk about books and stuff on the internet. And I have made some connections like through the podcast, through just general reaching out. And I've noticed something that the bigger influence, the people with lots of big numbers, um, I find that they tend to be sort of the North Star for people. Like, oh, I want to reach out to this massive influencer because they have like 1 million followers or whatever. And so if they talk about my stuff, obviously I'm going to get all these sales and it's going to be really good for my career. And, but I have noticed being on both sides of that kind of fence that the smaller influencers, the people with like, I don't know, I would say like 15, 20,000 less, around 10,000 even, um, that the ROI tends to be way better on that kind of stuff. So if there's authors out there who are like, "Oh, I'd really like to like send out a PR package to an influencer, um, reach out to people to ask them if they would share my book." Um, I wanted your take on it because I have my own thoughts and opinions on it and my own process and the way that I've done it, and I've been pretty successful in doing it because I'm very particular about how I do it. Um in the sense of I research people really thoroughly before I reach out. I make sure that books that they talk about are like mine or mine are like them. And I also like I am a um I'm kind of an empath, so I feel like even through these kind of digital channels, like I can feel people's energies and like I mean, this is a woo-woo podcast, so I'm just gonna lean fully into it. Um, and I can kind of sense whether or not I would sort of vibe with that person. And when I reach out, I do it in a very specific way. But you are on the other side of that fence, and you were one of the people that I reached out to and was able to send my books to. So I wanted to kind of chat about that from the sense of like when people reach out to you, like not do's and don'ts per se, but like best practices and maybe avoids
Yeah, I think
as
you
far as
hit it
that.
on like you hit the nail on the head. Is that it? Is that the saying? You hit the hit?
Yeah.
Whatever it
Yeah.
is, you are fully correct. Like there's nothing that irks me more, and I know other bookstagrammers feel it too because they will post about it in like their close friend stories, and we'll talk about it too. And it's when you get that random message that you can tell is just copy and pasted and sent to hundreds of bookstagrammers, just trying to get them to engage. And I think what you're doing is correct. Like, get to know, like, another thing too is like support goes two ways. Follow that
Yeah.
creator before you try reaching out to them. Like, make
Yes.
sure that like you support them and then they can support you too. Like, it's a two-way street. Like, we're all supporting each other, and that's a huge component to it. I think a lot of people, I myself included, I will look if somebody reaches out to me and they don't even follow me, I'm like, well, that's not very nice. I'm like,
Mhm.
you want me to post my book, your book on my page, but then you don't even want to just give me a little follow? Could work both ways.
Yep.
So I think what you're doing is exactly how I would do it is put you want, and also like that's my thing too, is like authors, they'll just send their book to everyone and anyone. And it's sometimes that's not the
Mhm.
case because I've been reached out to. Like I will read fantasy the odd time. It's not like my go-to genre. Like I'm much more contemporary dark, like that's more my vibes.
Mhm.
And like I'll have people reach out. I've had people reach out to me about like sci-fi books, and I'm like, where on my page have you ever seen that? And then like, or even like somebody will write a memoir. I'm like, uh, I'm like, where are you seeing that? Where do you think that I would
Yeah.
vibe with that? So like it takes, and this thing is usually just scrolling, even just like the last 6 months, you can really get to know somebody, their account, especially if they're like, they post frequently, you get to know who they are quite quickly, or at least
Mhm.
their social persona, like that online persona. You get to kind of see who they are and what they kind of like to read. So what you're doing is 100% like, don't just message hundreds of
Mhm.
bookstagrammers this copy and pasted message that has no emotional actual attachment to it. Like you can tell when it's been just copy and pasted and sent to hundreds of other people's, and you just kind of like, man, like to me, like I there was a point where I was just deleting those because I was like
Mhm.
I like, get in my comments, get to know me a little bit. Like I'm somebody, I'm a chatterbox. Like I've told people constantly, you can come into my inbox and chat with me and I will chat back.
Mhm.
I love talking, so I have no problem jumping into like my inbox and getting to know me. Right. And I think
Mhm.
a lot of bookstagrammers, especially because like we love building relationships with authors. And whether you're an author with 10 followers, 100 followers, 10,000, 100,000, it doesn't matter.
Mhm.
You don't want to feel like you're a cog in the machine, like, oh, read my book, put it out there so I can get sales.
Yeah.
Like, excuse me, get to
Yeah.
know me a little bit or just be a little bit more thoughtful with the approach. That's a big thing. Like be thoughtful about how you're doing. And that's what I think you're doing is like you put a lot of thought in. It's more, it comes across very genuine and thoughtful. Like you've put in the time to get to know me and my account versus
Mhm.
just spamming a bunch of accounts and being like, you want my book?
Yeah, well, and I think it comes down to the fact that I genuinely want, like, I wanted you to like my book. I didn't want a bunch of people to buy my book. I wanted you to like my book. And if you did and you talked about it, then the byproduct, the happy accident, the bonus is that when you talk about my books, they sell. That's just a fact. Like
And as a
every
bookstagrammer,
time.
like, yes, and as a bookstagrammer, like that's what brings you joy. Like I love when an author messages me and says like, "Oh my god, my you posted my book had bumps." I'm like, "Yeah, it did." I'm like pumped about it. Or I love even being
Mhm.
tagged in a review. Like somebody else posted a book recommendation, be like, "Just read this. Alexandria recommended it, loved it." And I'm like, "Yes." I'm like, "We're doing it." Like I'm like, that's so exciting. Because like yes,
Mhm.
some people, you might recommend a book that somebody might absolutely hate, and that's okay. But like I love knowing that like an author, her book is out in the world or their book is out in the world and like people are liking it and it's because of my little post. Like I'm like, this is great. I'm like, this is so good. Like it's so exciting. And like
Yeah.
it's just like for both parties. I'm like, this is so
Mhm.
exciting for both of us and it's so heartfelt. And like I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Like we should, again,
No.
it comes down to that support and being excited for other people. And it's like you're doing it out of the goodness. Like you want to see other people succeed and do well. So you're like,
Hmm.
yay, like my little post got you like 5 sales. Woo! Like that's
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah.
And I
And
think
I
that
mean,
like it oh
sorry,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
You go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say the opposite. Like it can backfire too when you blanket the internet with your book. You might get a lot of freebie. Like there are some bad apples all like in every industry and in every corner
Yeah.
of the internet, right? Like and you might get somebody who just really loves to get free books and then rag on them, right? Like there is that. And so then all of a sudden you might get a bunch of really bad reviews. Like I used to use this software where you could kind of put arcs out and then people could
Yeah.
download them and stuff like that. And I mean, for the most part, it was pretty good, but there was a higher rate of folks who just wanted free books and then would give bad reviews. And one thing about the like something to keep in mind as an author too with bad reviews is that oftentimes the bad reviews will come in faster because people don't finish your book, right?
Yeah, and
And
even like
so,
even to that, like there's even like I for my work we read this book and I can't remember what the book was called, but there was actual studies done on reviews, and it was you are high like much more likely to get a negative review, whether it's a restaurant, a food, a book, whatever, because people want to let when they have people have negative thoughts, they want to let those thoughts out. So you are much
mhm,
more likely to get a negative review for something versus if you have 10 people who loved your book, but they might not post about it because they might just be regular schmegular people. They're not bookstagrammers. They're just regular people. But like those
yeah,
regular people, when they aren't happy with something, they'll let you know that they're not happy about that. But when they
yeah.
love it, they kind of think, oh, that you know, you got that dopamine hit. You're happy. You read that book. You loved it, and you can go to the next one, right? So I think that that's that difference too. Is like negative reviews. There's tends to be whether you're a restaurant, a business, whatever it is, you are more likely to get a negative review because people are more
Yeah.
vocal when they're unhappy.
Yeah, and I'm not against negative reviews. I do believe that the
Oh,
negative reviews actually add legitimacy. Like, I
yeah,
trust a book that
absolutely.
has a bunch of reviews more than I
Versus
do
all
one that
perfect.
just has 5 stars or like 4 and 5 stars, right? And so not that I'm like, not that I go in thinking like, oh, only their friends must be, blah, 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 blah. But like, I need to know because for me, I feel like when you write a book, you are saying something, you're making a point. And as soon as you make a point, there will be people who agree with you and there will be people who disagree with you. So for me, I feel a little bit more like books that have been out for a while and only have 5 star reviews. I tend to think like maybe they're a little bit watered. Like I like rough around the edges characters. I like most of the time I go on and I read the 1 and 2 star reviews because that's what sells me on the book. I'm like, this main character is the worst thing that ever happened. She's such a blabbity blabbity and this and that and the other thing. And I'm like, I like her already. I'm gonna buy that book. I'm gonna read it, right? Like that's
I fully do that too.
yeah, that's my personality is I like unlikable people. That's kind of, you know, my tagline, I guess. But anyways, about the influencers and reaching out and stuff like that. Yeah, like I agree that the research is important and the connections are important and finding kind of back to what in my ramble at the beginning when I was saying about the bigger versus the smaller accounts. I do find that the smaller accounts are much more engaged and much more excited. Like they don't have social media managers that are posting their content for them. They're there. They're in it. They're in the trenches. They love it. They're doing the thing. They're screaming from the rooftops if they like stuff. And like that, I think like that's what I've done in when I've gone about this is I've looked for people that I really feel like they're in it and they're there and they're excited about what it is that they're reading and what they're doing. And I feel like that's like a good place to sort of start research. And so I was just wondering if you've noticed anything like that as well.
I fully agree. Like, yeah, like you can kind of tell the difference. And it's hard because even like there's big book accounts that like I can think of that still do get very excited to talk about books.
Hmm.
But then there's like the back ends because again, when I've been in the community for 8 years, I'm very close with a lot of authors, which I'm so like grateful for. But I learned things too, right? Like I know that there's some big accounts that get paid for their posts. So of course they're going
Right.
to be more energetic and excited about the book they're sharing because they're being paid to share about it. Like and that's the part that it's so hard. And that's why like I think it's important that everybody always has to add like ad or sponsored or whatever,
Hmm.
because it kind of you kind of get in that thing where you're kind of like, are you still being genuine or not? And it's hard,
Hmm.
right? Because those most smaller accounts, like they're not being paid for their stuff. They're
Hmm.
just posting because they have that genuine love for that book and whatever it is. So it is very hard. I do see a difference as well sometimes with like the big accounts to the small accounts where they're just happy and excited to be sharing about books versus sometimes when
Hmm.
you're being paid and you're kind of like, it's no different like anybody's being like a paid sponsor or something. You're kind of like, do you really like that? Like you're like, "Bleh." You're like,
Yeah.
I don't know. And it's kind of like you're hesitant. And it's hard too, because like again, like with a creator, sometimes you want to message them and be like, "Hey, like, did you actually like?" I've personally done this, and I've messaged like other bookstagrammers. I'm like, "Did you actually like this book?" Like, don't lie to me. I'm like, don't lie to me. And I've done it because I'm like, don't you lie. And so like it's hard. Like it is. It's again like the social realm has changed so much, and it's
Yeah.
so hard to that's why like for me that's why the authenticity will always be the most important to me, because it's really hard to know if someone's really excited about a book or not. And yeah, like I don't know, I do see what you're saying though with like big creators to small creators and kind of that imbalance of how, and and that's another thing too when it comes to those big and small creators is those big ones, they might be getting those high view counts, those high thing, but they might not be selling. But then those small accounts are the
Hmm.
ones that are posting, and you notice that you're like, oh, my books are selling after this account with 1,000 followers has posted about it.
Yeah.
And so it
Yeah,
really
and
like again,
it's
there's
again, they're different, but they're like neither one is good or bad, but I do think that there's this assumption that the higher follower account, the more, and it could be as simple as even if there's people with millions of followers and they're really active and really excited and really post about what they love, they have millions of followers and the algorithm only lets like 1% of the people see. So you just have a
exactly.
better chance. And the smaller creators I have found, like the bigger creators kind of do what they are requested to do. Like, will you share my book? Yeah, I'll share your book. Here you go. I shared your book. Whereas the smaller creators, like what you do, is like you shared about my book and the whole big thing and what we agreed on. But then I see my book. It shows up in some of your piles and some of your recommendations and some of your like trope lists and some of your things. And that's the thing is like sometimes the smaller creators will, um they recycle their content and their books and they're talking about the same books more often, and so it's just a numbers thing. But we in our
Yeah.
brains, I think the like my real point is that we tend to get fixated on the numbers instead of the energy and the push behind the content and what's being shared and how often it's being shared. So smaller numbers shared more often equals more numbers, right? Like if my math is mathing, that's one share to 1 million people and like 100 shares to 1,000 people is like, they're different.
Mhm.
So
It is very
I don't
different and
know.
it's hard, right? And it's always interesting to me because like I am a firm believer like numbers, like yeah, they're numbers. Like you again, you don't know if a post is going to pop off or not. Like you really like
Hmm.
nobody knows. Nobody can make assumptions of how the algorithm is going to take your video and either pop it off to a bunch of people or if it's just going to be like, "Oh, just kidding, you're going to get 100 views." Like we
Hmm.
don't really know. I've seen accounts that have hundreds of thousands of followers and they're like, "Oh, my last reel got 800 views." And like it's like,
Hmm.
"But you have so many like it's just like sometimes it's at random where the algorithm is like, I like you today. Your video is going to do
Yeah.
great. Or it's like, I hate you. You're getting 5 people. And you're like, okay. Like, it really, you can't, like, it's so hard to know if a post will do well or not. Like, it really is sometimes at random. And I'm
Hmm.
sure there's probably some hack somewhere that someone knows. I have not found it. So I've been
Yeah.
at it for 8 years and I have multiple, and I'm in social in very much different ways. Like I have every single channel that I run is very different and
Hmm.
I see a similar vibe along all of them. So, and most of the people that I see too. So it's just kind of, it's a hit or miss sometimes. And I think what you I think the like bottom line is like what you do is going in with that thoughtfulness, doing the work, and putting in just a little bit of time to get to know that bookstagrammer and then reach out to them will end up
Mm-hmm.
working in the long run, right? Because as bookstagrammers, like we're people, but again, most of us love supporting others. And that's like for me, I very much like I will post about that book that just came out. Absolutely. I get super excited, especially if it's an author I love. But I also love to go back in my shelves and look at books that I loved. And I'm like, I'm going to post that book too. I'm like, you deserve some love. And I'm like, I haven't
Yeah.
posted about you in a while. So, and then I do that because I'm like, yes, of like all the new books are getting all the hype and all the love right now, and every single bookstagrammer is posting about that same book. But I'm like, nah, but let's post some oldies that are some goodies because I just sometimes like
Mm-hmm.
it's nice. But yeah, and like again,
Yeah.
like I think that the way that you went about it when you reached out to me again, that left almost like an imprint on me because now I loved your books. Loved your books. But I
Thank you.
also love sharing them because you took
Yeah.
the time to like know me and we still chatted so much and it made all that difference. Whereas like I
Mm-hmm.
know authors that I they've reached out to me, sent their book, and I've never heard from them again. Like they don't engage. We don't like because
Oh.
we just it was just a it was back when I started and I was like, yeah, I want to take a free
Mm-hmm.
book. I'll read it. And it was like I had read it and then like poof, that author was like, great, thanks for sharing. And then that was it. And I was like, oh, okay. Like,
Yeah, it's never nice to feel like a stepping stone on somebody else's, journey, right? And I mean, you're like for me personally, I imprint on people. So like once I like you, you're stuck with me forever and that's the end of it. So like too bad for you. But I mean, I also wanted to point out too, like when I did reach out to you, I didn't just say like because you hear the advice of like make it personal, right? Like get to know the person, what they post about, what they like. But I didn't just comment and say, hey, you like contemporary romance books. I write contemporary romance books. Look at me do my research. Like I actually pinpointed a post, a specific post, and I like, you read this book and the way that you talked about this book made me feel like I've been told that my book reminds people of this author. And so I thought that that would be like a perfect thing. And we're both Canadian and I like love, sharing the Canadian love. And, uh, and also it's cheaper to send books to Canada. There is that. That was a factor. It
true,
was a small,
true,
tiny piece of it, but it was a piece of it. I was like, I need to find myself some
understandably so.
Canadian love. But
Yep.
anyways, like also being super specific. And that's to say I cold emailed an author about the podcast and I was like, she's never gonna, like never. She's got more important things to do than to talk to me, right? But I'm like, I'm gonna do it. I've been following this author for forever. We both started writing roughly at the same time. She writes about really cool, like controversial, not really controversial things, but she like writes about tropes that people don't like and she really makes them her own and she does her own thing. And that's basically what I told her. Like, I've just bought your new book. I'm reading it. I have like, you write about this. I'm very fascinated by this. I've been, and I used actual specifics from her books that I didn't just find on Google. Like, do not ask AI.
Personal touch,
Don't do it. But that's just because I'm super anti AI. But like, you can't ask
as we
AI
all
to
should
tell you a
be.
synopsis. I got an email like that as an author from a bookstagrammer because it's a two-way street. This happens both ways too.
Absolutely, it is.
And
Uh
I
huh.
got an email that had a summary of my book in it that was 100% written by AI. The themes of this and that and the other thing in your book and whatnot. And I was like, okay, that's kind of what my book is about, but it's also kind of not. Like,
Yeah,
and
I know
so,
exactly what you're
so then I
talking
was
about.
like, how rude. But anyways, so it does go both ways. Like if you want free
Yeah.
books from authors, you also, do your research and actually like know that you like their books or whatever. Like it's the
Well,
same thing works both ways.
it's
Sorry, you
and
go.
it absolutely does. No, you're so correct because it does work both ways. Because like I remember when I first became a bookstagrammer, it was very much like just being excited and accepting every single book that somebody wanted to send to you. And it was like, no, 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 no. Like that was me within the last few years. I've been much more intentional with the books that I accept because I'm also like I'm realistic. Like I'm a mood reader. Like I
Mm-hmm.
might not get to your book for another few months. Like I guarantee, like you could
Mm-hmm.
send it to me, but I might not be in the mood, so I might not read it right away. And that's one thing I
Mm-hmm.
make very intentional because I might not get to it right away. And I let authors like now I let authors know that I'm like, you can send me your book, but there's a high chance I might not get to it for a while. And
Yeah.
or if I read about it and I'm like, I don't like the sound of this. I'm like, this is not my vibe,
Right.
like not something I'd want to read. So I let the author know, like at this time, like, no, thank you. Because that's a hard part too, is
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, like it's great to get free stuff. Like we all love it, but it's also like we like, just don't accept something for free just because it's free. Like be intentional
Mm-hmm.
about it because then it ends up being clutter or whatever it is. But yeah, like I think that that's huge is like not accepting books just because you're like, oh, it's a free book. Like, no, and you're
Mm-hmm.
also like, you are making that commitment to that author. Like, I've been sent
Yeah.
books where I did not read them, and I feel terrible because I'm like, that author took their time, their hard earned money, and sent me a book that I never read. And realistically, I know I should not have accepted it. Like, I know now, I'm like, I should
Right.
not have said yes. Like, that was not okay. Like, I should have said, no, I'd love to pass it to somebody else who will read your book. And
Mm-hmm.
like, that's not cool. So, like, as me now, when I get sent like emails being like, oh, you want to read my book? I'm like, nah. I'm like, I know
Yeah.
myself better now. No, like I will not. It's all
Yeah.
good. Pass it to the next person. Like
Yeah.
double it and pass it on. Like I just it's all good. And like I agree. Like it's and we're getting into such like muddy waters now too, especially with the AI stuff. Because I know exactly what email you're talking about. Because I also have gotten it multiple times, and I'm like, go away,
Jeez.
like bugger off. And that's again my issue. It's like,
Why?
yeah, you have bookstagrammers that are just spamming like these messages to get free stuff, and it's just
Mm-hmm.
it's I think that being intentional about what you're going for is important. And if you want
Mm-hmm.
like an authentic reaction to your book, if you want your book to really resonate with someone, make sure you're reaching out to the right people.
Yeah.
Don't just reach out to anyone and everyone because you want your book read, because that's not always the case, because they might not read the genre that you're trying to get. They might not read the tropes that you're trying to get, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
somebody could say they're a romance reader, but they don't read dark romance, and then you're in their inbox being like their page is like contemporary and sports, and then you're like, I wrote this really dark taboo romance. Will you read it? Like, no,
Yeah.
no, like that doesn't make sense. Like, be a little bit more intentional, and it doesn't mean you have to take like a deep dive fully and like you don't have the
Right.
time, but just a little bit, like just a glance at their profile to be like, oh, they don't read dark romance. Pass. Like, let me find somebody else that does. Right.
Yeah,
And I think for
exactly.
authors, well, and I think for authors who are looking for readers, I think a huge missed opportunity is like when you're like search in the Instagram tab, search dark romance readers. And in that tab, it keyword research, right? So all of those keywords, if somebody posts about dark romance, their page is going to pop up there if they've tagged dark romance. It's a
Mm-hmm.
great tool to find those readers. If you write specifically why choose romance, go into there and search like why choose romance, and then you're going to find a bunch of readers and bloggers who have shared that specific trope, and you're like, okay, these are my people. Like, these are the people who I
Mm-hmm.
know are going to like my book. If somebody makes a post, it's like 20 why choose romance recommendations, you know that those people likely love why choose, so you could reach out to them, or at least start connecting with them. Don't reach
Mm-hmm.
out to them right away, but take like follow them, start to like, engage a little bit in their comments, and they'll kind of most people will start to see you, and they're like, oh, like that's really nice, and sometimes they'll follow you back. But like it's sometimes a slow, like a slow burn almost, getting to like in somebody's
Yeah.
inbox before you really get like to know them, be like, would you like to read my book? Like it's
Mm-hmm.
an awkward one, but like sometimes it's worth taking the time and being intentional about getting someone to get a PR box from you or get a book from you.
Yeah, and also important, I think, to remember that these relationships are professional, even though social media sometimes distorts that, and we sort of think like there's it has happened to me a couple of times, and it's been a very weird, awkward situation where people start to think that like we're super close friends because I was
It's
excited about
parasocial
something.
relationships.
Yeah, and, like, it's okay if it turns into friendships, right? Like, but when you're reaching out to
Absolutely.
somebody or in your first interactions with them, or especially if you're trying to get them to promote your books, or if you're trying to get a book from an author, like, these things are professional relationships, and even if, like, you like my book and you really were excited about it, which I'm eternally grateful for, but I was still, like, I was still a little bit like, "Thank you, I really appreciate you," and, like, it's still a professional relationship, and we can speak as if we're like, and we can develop into sort of a friendship, but like it's also, yeah, it's just, I just think that sometimes feelings get hurt. I think is more
Yeah.
the case, that feelings get hurt because influencer might be like, oh, that's so, it sounds so great, and they're so excited, and the excitement is genuine, but they also have other lives, or they have their own life, and they read other books, and they like other authors, and so, like, then you get your feelings hurt because you're like, oh, I thought we were friends, and now, you don't really want to chat anymore or whatever. Like, people have lives, and that's okay. Um, but I do think that I just wanted to mention that too, because I do think sometimes social media, because it is social, it sort of gives a little bit of that illusion of we're
Yes.
BFFs now because we both like the same thing, but that's not necessarily the case, and that's okay. It's okay to have professional acquaintances, you know.
Yeah, and well, again, and it's social media, right? Like, you
Mhm,
don't really know this person, and, like, absolutely, like, me and my, like, I have me like, I say friends, but again, they're social media friends because 'cause I've never met them, but we, like, get super excited about the same books, and we love talking about them, um,
mhm,
and that's okay, but, like, sometimes, yeah, like, sometimes, and the realm has changed a lot, I find, and I've thought about this a lot lately, especially because when I first started Bookstagram, it was like, you had core people that you talked to every single day, and they felt like
mhm.
best friends. But I
Yeah.
think because now Bookstagram is there's so much, it's more concentrated. There's so many more accounts now that relationship building isn't the same. Like, you don't have that person that you contact every single day, and like you're literally feel like you actually know each other. Like, when I first started, there was a core group of bookstagrams where we like actually like would mail each other gifts at birthdays, Christmases. Like, it was like
Oh, fun.
it was like a very different feel than it is now.
Mhm,
And I think now it's that what you just said. It's like not taking those feelings to heart because yeah, we all have lives. We're all adults. We have bills. We have things that we have to deal with. Some
mhm.
people just can't be on their phone 24/7. Like, it's so normal.
Where, on social media are you? And where can people find you? And is there anything you've got going on? Anything you wanna direct people to at the moment?
Well, you can find me at Happily Ever Alexandria on Instagram. That is my most predominant social channel. I have TikTok. I don't ever go on it. I don't like TikTok anymore. I used to, not a fan anymore. But if you ever want to
Fair.
find me, Instagram is where it's at. Like, I am always open to DMs. That is my second home, is on my little corner of the internet. Um and I don't have much going on. I'm very much very busy with work. I have a lot of big work projects coming up that I'm getting ready for. So I'm very much just taking every single day, day by day, and getting excited for the warmer weather.
Yeah. Man, I love Canada, but seriously. Anyways, thank you for joining me. That was so much
Of
fun.
course. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Quill and Kettle podcast. If you have found inspiration in this conversation, please share it with a friend or leave a review wherever you are listening. If the cards have brought up anything for you, I would love to hear your interpretations in the comments. And please head to quillandkettle.com to sign up for weekly editor's notes where I talk writing, marketing, and branding from an intuitive perspective. If you would like to go deeper into each episode, be sure to join the Athenaeum for extended tarot reflections as well as behind the scenes and bonus content. So I think you picked up that this show is about thinking for yourself and following your own path, but for legal and ethical reasons, I just have to say it. The views and opinions expressed by the guests of the Quill and Kettle podcast do not necessarily represent the views of the podcast or anyone who works for it. All stories portrayed in this podcast are meant for entertainment purposes only and are not meant to be taken as mental health, medical, financial, or business advice.